Hydreigon now with a tough decision to make. Hella glassy, we're going to look to call the Brutal Swing bait. Ouch, that overheat was supposed to be resisted. Out comes Venusaur. We've just got nuked. We're looking to return the favour. Does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. If I was to ask you to name a ABB strategy in the world of Pokemon GO PvP, it's fair to say the vast majority of you would say Poison Double Dark. This strategy has been around since the start of PvP, way back in the days when Nidoqueen was super bloody annoying. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, spam that Poison Fang and debuff the absolute shit out of everything. The meta has had many changes since them days, and thankfully Nidoqueen isn't quite as annoying as it once was, but this strategy has held the test of time. We've seen so many different variations of this team. A little over a week ago, we had a fantastic Team Rocket takeover event where, ironically, we got a new poison type and 2 dark types. You know what that means. I'm yet to see anyone run this brand new Trio 3, and you better believe if no one else is going to run it, your boy over here is going to invest over 700,000 stardust and an elite TM to bring you that content. A lot of other content creators, when they test out these new Pokemon, I like to do it in practice battles. Worried about losing ELO. I personally don't give a crap. However, that being said, I probably should have run some simulations because I essentially just powered these Pokemon up and headed to battle, meaning I was pretty unknowledgeable about any of the matchups, but I guess we're going to learn as we go along. And despite my lack of preparation, I was able to gain a season high ELO and now sat in the 2400 ELO range. I don't know what to tell you other than this Hydreigon or Hydreigon, whatever you want to call it, is an absolute pest. It is so quick, it hits so hard, and it is a ruthless closer in the current Great League meta. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, I lead Shadow Qwilfish into Dusclops, and a standard variation of this team, the 2 dark types will be very advantageous into the Ghost. However, this Ghost does have access to Ice Punch, and neither of my dragons fancy tanking an Ice Punch to the face. However, that being said, we throw 4 Poison Stings, bank the Aqua Tail, catch the resisted Shadow Punch onto Zweilous, baiting out Marowak. So it looks like the opponent doesn't have a great Dragon and Dark type counter, as this is definitely more of a neutral matchup. The first Body Slam, forced to protect shield. I look to fire off the next one on the charge attack priority, but the opponent actually commit to the full Mud Slap farm down. They've obviously got a charge move bank. However, I'm still going to go for good timing, as I don't want to showcase battles where I continue to throw an alignment like an absolute potato. Aqua Tail forces the opponent all shields down, and that is all I need. Hydreigon, over to you, buddy. I'm going to ride this 3-headed dragon home, or at least attempt to, and hope to sweep the back line. Hydreigon enters the arena, going to go for the 1 shield, look for the Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent sends out the Steel Penguin. I doubt they're in Brutal Swing range. As I said in the intro, I have no idea how much it's going to do, but we're pretty attack weighted, like a 136 attack, so I heavily over farm, fire off the Brutal Swing, look to remove the Steel Penguin from the field of play. Brutal Swing isn't quite lethal, but we are able to Dragon Breath farm down afterwards. Dusclops dump this energy, so we are looking in a good position to sweep, as long as the opponent isn't able to catch back on the low health Marowak. Out comes Dusclops, the first Brutal Swing, massive damage, we farm up, throw in the middle of the Hex, the next Brutal Swing, we'll move in Dusclops from the field of play, we're going to Dragon Breath farm down Marowak and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see the Pancake Unova Stunfisk in the lead position, by no means a fantastic matchup, but we do outpace the first charge move, and it's going to hit for super effective. We land the Aqua Tail, massive damage, pivot into Zweilous, baiting out Gliscopod, so team working as intended. I'm going to set off with a Body Slam, because if I commit to the Dark Pulse, the opponent is going to be able to throw the X's and remove me from the field of play. The opponent shows fantastic counting, trapping me into the CMP tie. I do not win, but look how much damage we've done. In theory, Qwilfish going to fully wall the energy, but it's also pretty attack weighted. I'm not sure if we can tank an Aqua Jet particularly well, but I guess we're about to find out. I'm guessing it's going to do around 50%. Ouch, probably a little more to be honest, but regardless, we're able to fully Poison Sting farm down once again, leaving with the Aqua Tail that we are going to fire off immediately at the returning Pancake. Aqua Tail forced to protect shield, we pivot into Hydreigon, baiting out Fearow. This is going to be the first example of what a ruthless closer Hydreigon is. Unlike Zweilous, our 35 energy charge move is getting same type attack bonus, and you're going to see it's easily going to one-shot from here, the opponent getting super greedy, not aware of just how hard and just how spammy we are, and we're going to take that game. In the next battle, the tough leads continue. We see a Mud Slap Torterra. Here the opponent stays in. I'm actually going to set off with a Body Slam. And the thought process here is they're likely not going to shield, and it potentially puts them in a range where I can Dragon Breath farm them down with my closer later on. The opponent going to fire off the Sand Tomb, debuff on my defense before sending out Dunsparce. I'm going to commit to the Dark Pulse, wanting to get off meaningful damage or forcing a shield advantage. To be honest, a shield advantage is what I'd mostly like. And again, we're going to commit to the Dark Pulse and look to force the energy. If I set over a Body Slam there, the opponent's going to fully roll up, farm me down. Zweilous again, putting in a lot of work. I think Hydreigon is definitely the star of the show, but Zweilous certainly has some play. Qwilfish, much like Hydreigon, hits hella hard. So here the opponent's going to be 2 roll-ups off the next move. So I'm thinking 1 Poison Sting and the Aqua Tail have a good time in. Hope to put in a range where either 1 or 2 Poison Stings knock out, and that definitely looks to be the case. Is that DRE? To be honest, these were played at like 6 AM. I don't know, but I'm pretty pissed off they survived. I lose my Qwilfish, and it's all down to Hydreigon to clean up. Out comes Magneton. This game isn't quite over yet. We do have the pace and advantage, as we do have a small energy lead. We fire off the Brutal Swing. Of course, we're shielding this move. Magnet Bomb would probably kill this Hydreigon and every Hydreigon that's ever entered the GO Battle League. I look to throw the next Brutal Swing. The opponent makes a very nice catch. We go for the undercharge. I need to leave with the move. Am I able to Dragon Breath farm down? Oh! Come on, man. That is twice the opponent survived on invisible HP, and we take our first loss. GG's to that opponent. Definitely a winnable game. I think after landing the Aqua Tail, I should have sent out Hydreigon and looked to Dragon Breath farm down. But it is what it is. Heading into the next battle, we see Primeape in the lead position. The opponent save switch into Corviknight. I'm going to go for some Chip action and then send out Hydreigon. I'm hoping after landing 1 single Aqua Tail, they're going to be in Brutal Swing range. I'm not actually sure that's the case. I'm actually going to go for the 1 shield, maximise farm, knowing Primeape likely is going to shield, as they're hella glassy and they essentially shield everything. I heavily over farm, fire off the Brutal Swing, the opponent unlikely to shield because we are doubled up. They shield once, they're going to be forced to shield twice. Brutal Swing, it does pick up the knockout. Back out comes Primeape, we fire off the Brutal Swing. Look at the Karate Chop damage, man, that is crazy. Karate Chop, essentially for energy generation, not really known for fast move pressure. We send back out Qwilfish. Qwilfish should wall the energy, but ouch, that close combat didn't look resisted. We then Simul Swap, and we see Zweilous into the Pancake. We find ourselves in the 1-to-1 shield and looking like somewhat of a tricky endgame. You can see that 2 Mud Bombs are just about survivable. If we tank the second, we're very much in danger of getting Thundershock farmed down. We land the Dark Pulse, and now I can go straight Body Slam. I am going to invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the next Mud Bomb. I'm then going to over farm, fire off the Body Slam. Now I can outpace that Primeape to yet another Body Slam, and that puts the opponent in a tough position. Do they want to shield up a Body Slam? Likely not, as they will know that Aqua Tail will do more. Back out comes Primeape. We fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam does go unshielded. We pivot into Qwilfish. The opponent forced to dump their energy. Now the question becomes, can they boosted Karate Chop farm down Zweilous before we Dragon Breath farm them down? They cannot, and we escape with a dub. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see a battle of water types. As we're a sub-poison type, you'd think this is a great matchup. It's kind of crazy to think. My super effective poison stings are essentially doing the same as the resisted bubbles, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is what a stat product is all about. However, catching the fairy type in the lead, we've got 2 things. Double Heat to Fairy in the back isn't bad for me whatsoever. We should tank any 1 move. Probably not well, but well enough. We actually tanked that better than I was expecting. We throw 4 Poison Stings and the Aqua Tail. I don't think this Aqua Tail will quite be lethal. However, I don't dislike soft losing this matchup. Hence, I don't throw the Aqua Tail. I'm looking to get energy in one of my 2 Dragon types. Hoping with the Fairy out the way, the Dragon and Dark types are good against what's in the back. So Zweilous gets a very nice farm down. Out comes Annihilate, and I instantly regret my decision, to be honest. I think I'm absolutely fucked. Wink on them, not shielding the Dark Pulse. They put up that Protect Shield. I'm going to say GG's body and move swiftly on. In the next battle, we see yet another ground type in the lead. The disrespect for grass is kind of unreal in this meta. We fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail again does half the health, and we pivot into Zweilous. I'm more than content to tank 1 move. I'm just going to keep farming up. We could throw the Body Slam, but Body Slam wouldn't knock out from here, so I'm actually going to invest a Protect Shield, continue to Dragon Breath away, and see what the opponent wants to do. They eventually do make the pivot, sending out Murkrow. Murkrow is a hella glassy Pokemon. Body Slam, not the best move. Yes, it got buffed this season, but it's still pretty mid, but does force the opponent's first Protect Shield. The second Body Slam, able to land. I'm just going to sacrifice Qwilfish to the Pokegods, recognize that this is their best Dragon Dark type counter. Hydreigon should be good to carry us home. I'm all down 1 Protect Shield, so I wanted to just sacrifice it, and that seems to be a good decision. The opponent, interestingly, running a similar strategy to me, an ABB team with ground double fly-in. The opponent farming up, looking to bluff a Brave Bird. I will respect it, because LoseCon is getting Brave Birded to the face. They throw the Seed Bomb. However, then, don't commit to the Brave Bird. Hydreigon, if you die to this Seed Bomb, I'm going to be pissed. Hydreigon withstands the damage, gonna fire off the Brutal Swing, will remove Dartrix from the field of play. The opponent sends back out Stunfisk, don't make the catch, Brutal Swing lands on its intended target. We're going to Dragon Breath farm down Murkrow and take that game. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we see Corsola in the lead position, yet another lost lead for Qwilfish. That's kind of the ongoing theme of this video. When you're on an ABB team, winning lead isn't all that important. What's important is baiting out the opponent's best counter for one of your B-types and allow B-type number 2 to do its thing and sweep the back line. I farm up a boatload of energy. The opponent threw the power gem, which would have been survivable, but I recognise they clearly don't have a great answer if they're opting to stay in. Out comes Cradilly, we're able to force both Protect Shields with the double Dark Pulse, and that is beautiful for me. Zweilous, our most pathetic Pokemon on the team, that has the least damage output, has forced the opponent all shields down, setting up the 2 glass cannons with a shield advantage, looking primed to nuke the back line. The opponent smartly overfarmed, meaning they are going to throw the Rock Tomb before we get off the Ice Beam, but have no doubt Cradilly, you sir might be thick, but Qwilfish about to remind you, you aren't thick enough. Ice Beam picks up the knockout. We bank the Aqua Tail pivot into Hydreigon. Corsola remains on my screen. Here's going to be the first victim. Brutal Swing removes Corsola from the field of play. Out comes Marowak. Marowak, you sir, very quickly about to meet the same fate. Straight in and straight out, as Dragon Pulse is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Moltres in the lead position. I say switch into Zweilous, and the opponent like, nah. Jamie Finn, you aren't putting in my YouTube video, to be honest. I thought it was fun, and I put you in regardless. Heading into the next battle, we have found ourselves a problem, and its name is Annihilate. The last Annihilate we saw absolutely deleted me. We throw the Aqua Tail, surprisingly going unshielded, which certainly gives me a very easy way of getting rid of this. Whilst I could throw on CMP again, I don't want the opponent to be able to shield and then get off the next Rage Fist, so I throw 5. If they shield it, I'm going to instantly pivot into Zweilous and look to catch the Rage Fist where it would be resisted. The opponent actually happy with their shield advantage and send out Corviknight. Of course, as I'm on an ABB team, you can see I was spamming the switch regardless, whatever come out, seeing what the opponent's best Dragon and Dark type counter is. On paper, a Steel type running Sand Attack as a quick move should be somewhat of a core breaker for a Poison double Dragon team. However, to be honest, it is quite manageable unless they get the boost, which of course they got, because why bloody not? But regardless, we're going to commit to the next Dark Pulse, finally stripping a shield, or just removing them from the field of play. The opponent fully Sand Attack, farm me down, and we find ourselves in a tricky spot. We farm up, make the catch, back onto Qwilfish. They actually full send a payback. Okay, we've got a chance here. Out comes Cradilly. Hydreigon looking to close the show. Gonna go straight Brutal Swing. They can tank the first, but regardless, you can see just how much that does. And we're actually going to be able to outpace the 2 further Brutal Swings. Hydreigon puts up that Protect Shield, blocking up the Rock Tomb. Cradilly with his pedestrian pacing is about to get outpaced. We fire off the next Brutal Swing, forced to Protect Shield. We're able to reach the next one, winning Charge Attack priority. If the opponent's completely energy dry, we're going to win Charge Attack priority. Did they farm up any additional energy? They did not. We outpaced to yet another Brutal Swing and take that game. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle. Come on, man. Yet another ground type. But to be honest, I quite like this lead as we do manage to outpace. No one shields this Aqua Tail and it does half their health, so I really shouldn't complain. Aqua Tail once again goes unshielded. We pivot into Zweilous, and this time we're actually able to catch as the opponent was spamming the charge move. Once again, we managed to bait out Murkrow, and I make a catastrophic mistake. My 1-turn move timing is horrendous, and you're going to see just how bad that is for me in this battle. As of course, we don't get DRE, and as we throw an alignment, we're unable to reach the next Body Slam. However, all isn't lost. We're just going to save both shields for our Hydreigon and look to sweep the back line. However, the opponent has got so much energy, we're going to exchange 1 Protect Shield for an energy lead. The opponent actually aggressively send out Stunfisk, and here I think my best path forward is 1 shield, fully Dragon Breath farm down, and look to manage energy well against whatever's in the back. Is that a good play? I guess we're about to find out. I remember this battle, and I was so tilted after playing it. The opponent thinking about what to send out Furret. We're going to fire off the first Brutal Swing. So here I've got so much energy, 1 Dragon Breath and the next Brutal Swing. We end up over tapping. It's kind of weird that, to be honest. Looks like I was Dragon Breathing and throwing a Brutal Swing at the same time. The opponent receives the energy for the Swift. We had a guessing game. Are they going to catch? Are they not? I say not. And despite throwing an alignment twice, we're able to take that game. Oh man, honestly. Imagine if this team was navigated by a non-washed up trainer. We would probably be somewhere high up on the leaderboard. I'm just kidding, but honestly, that time was horrendous. In the next battle, we saw Sizzle in the lead position. The opponent say switch into Gastrodon. They caught the Aqua to L, which puts them in a range where I just need to go straight body slam. We're actually able to force a protect shield, and here we're going to see me make a very interesting play. So there's no point in throwing this next body slam, because all that's going to do is just give Scizor yet more energy. So instead, we're just going to sacrifice Zweilous, and instead of giving them free energy, I'm going to take an energy lead myself. The opponent sends out for Alligator. You can see I attempt to make a catch, to be honest, using a one-turn move. Why did that not register? I'm not entirely sure. Hydro Cannon is resisted, but I'm going to shield regardless. We're now almost at 100 energy. We fire off the Brutal Swing. A Brutal Swing removes Gator from the field of play. Back out comes Scizor, and Scizor is about to meet the wrath of Hydreigon. First Brutal Swing forced the Protect Shield. The second Brutal Swing is going to land on its intended target. Monstrous damage. We pivot into Qwilfish and just look to force the energy. Despite still having a shield, we can just Dragon Breath farm down everything. The opponent actually fire off the Night Slash, pivot into Gastrodon, get Poison Stung farm down. Scizor also gets Poison Stung farm down, and that clutches up a big fat 5-0. GG's to all my opponents. Heading into the next battle, we see my favourite non-shadow Pokemon, Chester. So whenever I see this thing, I immediately think it's going to be no Bonfire Heads team, of course, with Drapion and Typhlosion. Hence they're kind of staying in a poor matchup, because to be honest, Qwilfish pretty advantageous into the entire line of 3. We should let the Frenzy Plant farm up, trap the opponent into the CMP type. Ice Beam lands on its intended target. Here you can see I stopped tapping, hence I only throw 1 Poison Sting. So I waited a turn to see what come out. Out comes Typhlosion, Aqua Tail, force the Protect Shield. We pivot into Zweilous, the opponent committing to the Blast Burn, meaning we're going to be able to outpace to the Body Slam. Body Slam goes unshielded, and to be honest, this looks like G to the G. Blast Burn is going to be survivable, not well. The opponent actually pivot out into yet another Incinerate user. Camera Up is a hella cool pick, but unfortunately they're always getting outpaced, despite having a 1 Incinerate running start. Hydreigon races to that Brutal Swing. The opponent going to be forced to invest a Protect Shield. The Dragon Breaths tearing through their HP. They recognise they're going to get outpaced. The back-to-back moves, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we found ourselves a problem. Gyarados going to beat the entire line of 3. We throw this Aqua Tail, knowing the opponent is going to lose CMP, and this could be a crunch. If they crunch, so be it. The opponent actually Aqua Tail, so we're going to save Qwilfish and make the pivot into Zweilous. This again, just an Aqua Tail, which won't do too much, but the Dragon Breaths are tearing through my HP. The opponent pivots out into an Ice Fang here, Powdon. Holy spice, we force in the Dark Pulse, monstrous damage. Despite them being deep in the red, Qwilfish already severely chipped. I'm going to be unable to Poison Sting farm down, so I send out Hydreigon, able to get the Dragon Breath farm down, but at some cost. Them 3 Ice Fangs did crazy damage. Out comes Clodsire. We attempt to make a Sludge Bomb catch attempt unsuccessful. We're able to get off the Aqua Tail, force the opponent's final protection. They pivot into Gyarados and Trainer. That's a mistake. We've got a heap of energy on Hydreigon. Hydreigon wastes no time, fires off the Brutal Swing, removing Gyarados from the field of play. We've still got 2 shields, and essentially I'm not entirely sure what the opponent's hoping for. Can you Poison Sting farm down Hydreigon? No chance, buddy. We reach that Dragon Pulse. Is it necessary? Not particularly, but we YOLO it anyway and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Dustoir in the lead position. It's a big fat no thank you for me, and a save switch into Zweilous. Our Zweilous save switch baits out Charger Bug. This is by no means a bad matchup, especially if we're able to land the Dark Pulse, which we do, and just like that, switch advantage will be mine. I don't often like going down Protect Shield, but I can exit this matchup with a heap of energy and a hell of a lot of HP. Out comes Togekiss, and once again we throw like an absolute potato on alignment. We're still going to be able to reach back-to-back body slams regardless, and next time fast move timing is somewhat better. We throw the next body slam, forcing a protection. If opponent looks for that fall, peck farm down. We're even going to reach 1 further body slam. If this goes shielded, which it does, I need to do something. So Qwilfish buddy, you again are getting sacrificed to the Poke Gods. Qwilfish operating as the world's best third shield. The opponent then swipe with Dustoir, hoping the Dark type out the way. It's going to be good against what's in the back, but unfortunately Trainer, we're running that buy 1, get 1 free combo. We invest a massive Protect Shield, correctly shielding up the Dynamic Punch. We're then going to farm up to the double Brutal Swing. The first will move in Dustoir from the field of play. Togekiss might be a fairy, but they're so severely chipped. The Hydreigon, ironically, double weak to fairy, is a Togekiss counter confirmed. You heard it here first. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we see another Dustoir in the lead position. These things, evidently like London buses, you don't see one for ages, and you see 2 consecutively. Those of you that know anything about British transport know exactly what I mean. We once again bait out Cradilly, and again we're able to force a Protect Shield here in that mid-game matchup. We tank the Rock Tomb, unfortunately unable to get off the next Dark Pulse. Whilst I could have chipped with the Body Slam, that's kind of neither here nor there. Regardless, they're still getting one shot by the Ice Beam. The opponent land the Rock Tomb, then attempt to catch, or potentially a snipe, not entirely sure, but Ice Beam successfully banked, and we see the pivot into Hydreigon. The opponent go for the Shadow Punch bait, but no bait. We'll be saving this Dust Noir's fate. We rip off the Brutal Swing, force the opponent all shields down. The opponent wants a shieldless game, and who am I to deny him of it? Hydreigon knows this is only a Shadow Punch, but we need to maintain some health. Look at these resisted Astonishes. I'm not looking all that resisted. Back out comes Cradilly. I wasn't entirely sure a Brutal Swing will be lethal, so we YOLO that Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse removes them from the field of play. Out comes Marowak. We commit to the Dragon Pulse, knowing this Marowak is going to be knocked out by the Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to be a big fat one-hit KO, and Qwilfish gets his redemption against an ever-annoying Mud Slapper. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see an Ember Turtonator in the lead position, so Brutal Swing costs 35 energy. So I'm pretty confident it's going to be 4 Embers to the Brutal Swing, as they're going to pace exactly the same as like Qwilfish, also with 35 energy charge. With my catch attempt unsuccessful, we do manage to bait out Florges, which is fantastic for me, as of course Hydreigon wants no part of this threat whatsoever. If this is a chilling water, we might actually reach another Body Slam. I think I'm coping. Do we reach it? Unfortunately we don't. But regardless, we can just poison thing farm down with Qwilfish. At worst, this is a Trailblaze. They probably just debuff me being an absolute degenerate. There is the debuff right on cue. I'm looking top right. If I see Turtonator come in, I'm going to look fire off the Ice Beam. Huh? How they lose CMP? I guess I actually hit the move a little late, so clearly my reflexes are horrendous. Not only do I throw an alignment, I'm super slow as well, in fairness. You only get like 0.5 seconds to react. It is what it is. Ice Beam forced to Protect Shield. We tank the Brutal Swing, pivot into Hydreigon, and we've now got a tough decision to make. We're hella glassy. I look to call the Brutal Swing bait. They full send the Overheat. Out comes Venusaur. You nuke me, trainer. I raise you my own nuke. We full send the Dragon Pulse. The opponent fucked about. They found out Venusaur gets Dragon Breath farmed down, and somehow, in a kind of crazy endgame, we're able to emerge victorious. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Corviknight in the lead position. So of course, I'm going to say no thank you, say switch into Zweilous. So what these Corviknight players all do, they'll chip and dip. If they don't get the boost, they'll pivot out into something that beats Zweilous. So they get the boost, they're probably going to ride that boost and stay in. Of course, they got the boost on the first opportunity, because why bloody not? I'm sure it's meant to be like 30%, but it definitely feels more like 50-50. I'll be honest, I've got no intention of ever using this Pokemon, so I'm not entirely sure how we actually miss out on the Body Slam as well. So as much as I'm trash talking this Pokemon, it is absolutely kicking my ass here. To be honest, I give myself a lot of shit for throwing on alignment. So it's kind of fair. I give myself shit, I can give other people shit too. We fire off the Brutal Swing, removing them from the field of play. Out comes a Steel Penguin, and this looks like a very, very tough game to win. There's no point in throwing the Brutal Swing yet, as they're nowhere near in Brutal Swing range. Instead, we heavily overfarm. This still isn't quite Brutal Swing range. The opponent likely invests a Protect Shield. There's the first Protect Shield. Actually, the Shadow and Shadow Crime, this probably does knock out. We fire off the next one, force the opponent all shields down, pivot into Qwilfish. The opponent going to chip and dip. This Drill Peck, only neutral, but still does crazy damage. Out comes Cradilly. We've definitely got a chance here. This is definitely why I wish I simulated this. I don't know how much this does. I was thinking, it definitely doesn't one-shot. Whilst it doesn't one-shot, it did far too much. I needed to undercharge. Oof, Jamie. Learn your matchups. Have we not quite out of it yet? Can we survive 2 Metal Sounds? No, we can't. Unfortunately, no DRE. And to be honest, that game kind of got close and definitely was winnable. Heading into the final battle. You see a regular Draper in the lead position. We're going to throw 5 poison stings that look to catch the crunch onto my Zweilous. The opponent baits with the Aqua Tail, which I thought was definitely a strange play. Then stay in and throw 6. And I thought, no chance you're my OG moveset of Aqua Tail and Sludge Bomb. Respect, there is the Sludge Bomb. But as they're not a shadow, we just about hang on. Undertap the Body Slam. Body Slam goes unshielded. And the opponent then sends out Dusclops. I'm sure you've made it to this point in the video. You know, I love a mad play. So I'm going to send out Qwilfish. Again, it looks like I actually wait too long, and it ends up sending out Hydreigon. And then attempt to catch an Ice Punch, catch attempt unsuccessful. What is going on here? We force a protection, that works for me. The opponent fire off the Shadow Punch. They can fire off another Shadow Punch, which will remove me from the field of play. And I guess Zweilous is tasked with a heavy lifting. Despite evidently having the world's worst reflexes nowadays. I'm quite old and quite tired. I got a lot of stress. I guess it's just excuses. Chalk them up. There was about 5 there. I feel kind of good about this situation. As of course, there's clearly is a team that has no answer for a Dark and Dragon type. Speaking of which, out comes Drifblim, and I'm sure we all know how this one's going to end. The first Brutal Swing, forces the opponent's final protection. We maximise farm, throw on CMP, Brutal Swing. We'll be popping the hot air balloon. Just Drapion remains. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. In fairness, Dusclops was still alive at low health, unless I had a heart attack. It's very unlikely they were going to win. You kind of get the idea. And it's just about going to wrap things up for today's showcase. This team was actually pretty good. Some of my timing was pretty poor, which I have took the piss out of. But I think quite a lot of people do throw at poor timing using a one-turn move. But this team was so incredibly strong. And without a doubt, Hydreigon, despite being very, very expensive to invest in. 90,000 Stardust for the second move and an Elite TM, in my opinion, it is very worth it. It was an absolute monster in the closer position. For those of you that are newer to the game, this is a great example of how to successfully run an ABB team as well. I do call myself washed up nowadays. I don't actually play all that often, and I don't really care, to be honest. However, what I do well is run an ABB team, and I think if you're trying to learn how to run it, have a look at this video and see how I'm pivoting out, trying to maneuver my second B type in that closer position well, which I did time and time again today. We had quite a lot of newly released shadows. I've actually got some Claydol battles that I had a hella fun team with. It is Sandslash, Claydol and Shadow Gyarados. We've got them recorded, but to be honest, I don't know when I'm going to shoutcast. Potentially tomorrow I'll fill up for it. And I've also got an Altaria and Empoleon team that will probably come sometime later as well. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you want to see them videos when I eventually get around to making them, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.